Well, thanks very much for joining us for another show, Nurturing Success, where we talk about financial stuff with financial related professionals and sort of try and get best practices out. Today, I'm joined by a friend and business associate, Emily Vincent. She is the owner and chief executive, and probably some other titles that I don't know of. Uh, her own company, right? And they're a third party administrator. She'll tell you a bit more about that. And it's a family company. And she's stepped in and run that business very successfully and grown it tremendously in the last several years. So thank you for being here, Emily.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So I like to start just with a very simple question. What are you grateful for today? What's on your mind you're grateful for? Personal, business, doesn't matter. Whatever's making you feel good.
So I have two kids. I got to start personal, right? I have
Yeah.
two little girls. Never thought I would have kids, but I have two, a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
I get to coach their soccer teams. That
Oh,
is
cool.
that is my joy. I love coaching kids in soccer. They're at the age now where they listen to everything I say, and it's just physically, can they do the things I say?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. On the personal side, that's what I'm happy about. On the professional side, I'm grateful for building the team that we had. I took this business over from my father
Yeah.
about 7 to 10 years ago, and it was small. It was myself, my father, my brother, and we've grown. There's 10 of us now. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for the team that we have, and to be able to do something that I like to do every day.
Well, love it. Did you play soccer growing up?
I did. I was a club soccer kid. I was an AYSO kid. I played in high school. I played in college. Soccer, cross country, track, you name it. If there was cardiovascular exercise involved, that is my sport.
Yeah, I know. Since you got up at like 2 in the morning and run every morning, so you're
Yeah.
crazy. But maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that. But that's wonderful. So here's an easy question for then. So how did those lessons growing up, being disciplined around soccer, how do you think those things apply to your business and the success you've enjoyed in your adult life, as it were?
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of team sports, right? Everything in life, you're surrounded by a team, even if individualized is your work. I really believe that the team aspect helps you in a teamwork environment. You got to work with people. You got to work with people you like. You got to work with people you don't like. It's just how it goes. But you win some, you lose some, and I
Yeah,
think that is true in work as well.
yeah, that's great. I've always been faced with a challenge personally because of my personality where I have a hard time firing. Right? They tell you to say hire slow and fire
Right.
fast, and that's been a challenge for me personally. I'm wondering if you have any tips you might want to share about that experience you've dealt with. And I have a funny feeling you're much better than I am. So,
So my brother and I are business partners,
yeah,
and I'm the mean one. He's the nice one. So whenever it comes time to wanting to let an employee go, I always run it by him.
yeah,
He kind of wants to hang on. Let's give him another chance. And I've heard exactly what you heard, right?
yeah,
Hire slow, fire quick. You have to do it. You're not doing the person any favors by keeping them on when it's just not a good fit.
yeah.
You know, it's not fun to fire someone, but it's necessary. Tips, you do it quick. You do it quick. There's no room for any confusion on what is happening right now. You're done.
Yeah. No, I like it. It's great advice. And I sense, the majority of the folks we chat with and that may watch this at some point are financial advisors, planners, or in related financial professional kind of feelings where they all want to build businesses. They want to scale. They want to do different things. And I think this is a common, kind of challenge that we face is, how do you build your business, hire other people, and grow the business without letting go of what's essentially you and all these other kind of things and so forth. Anyway, there's a lot we can unpack there. That's a whole nother 2 or 3 hours. So we won't go into all that. But tell me about, everyone listening to this at some point should really know what a third party administrator is. But, other people will listen to this, maybe just give what is a third party administrator and what value do you bring to the folks that engage you?
Yeah, I am in a profession where I would say 90% of people do not know I exist.
Yeah.
Pretty much a business owner, an accountant, and a financial advisor know I exist. It's such a niche industry. So what we are is third-party administrators. So we business owners come to us to figure out what type of plan they want to set up for their business. My clients are business owners, not individuals, not employees of other companies, but a business owner. Could be a doctor's office, a law firm, engineer, whatever the case may be. And the retirement plan is its own entity. It's like when you file your taxes as an individual, you have a tax return. When you file your business taxes, you have a tax return. When you have a retirement plan, you also have another tax return that needs to be filed. I like to think of myself as an accountant for the retirement plan. A lot of people think of us as financial advisors and we're managing money, and we're not. The financial advisor typically brings us in to decide what type of plan makes the most sense. The financial advisor is managing the money in the plan, and we're doing sort of the accounting, the record keeping, the bookkeeping for the plan itself. We're determining how much can be funded in any given year, and that's based on parameters of the age of the business owner and the employees and the IRS requirements. The IRS decides every year how much they're going to let people defer in tax. And so that's what I'm navigating. I'm navigating what is the business trying to accomplish, what is the IRS allowing, and what kind of deduction is the accountant looking for.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and so I mean, it's right in the name of the business, administration, right? So you're not handling money. You don't ever really even
We
see the
don't
money,
touch
other
the
than
money. Yeah. We
it's
don't
not,
touch the money.
yeah.
Yeah,
Go-
I was going to talk about bundled versus
yeah,
unbundled,
please, that is great.
right? So I think we're sort of turning into this situation of one-stop shop, right? And some people, they go to their payroll company and they want to do everything over there. I want my payroll there. I want my 401k there. I want just one-stop shop. That's what we call bundled. There's nothing wrong with that. Paychecks and ADP, those are really big payroll companies that offer 401k services. The nice part about it is it's pretty simple. It's easy and you know where everything is. I am on the unbundled side. I am the third party administrator. I'm one piece of the 401k. Then it's parked wherever you want it to be parked. Schwab, American Funds, Vanguard, any sort of institution that anyone has a preference to. And then there's also the financial advisor involved, which helps pick and choose the investment offerings within the plan. So bundled is a great option when there's very little that wants to be contributed every year and you don't want a lot of choice. You just want a 401k plan, great. Unbundled is great when you want a lot of choice in what's happening as far as annual contributions, where it's parked, who I'm using.
Yeah, so it's kind of fascinating because it crosses a whole breadth of different things. And at the end of the day, I think what a lot of people don't realize about your business is that you can work with, it's mostly small business, but you can go all the way down to individual type of folks. Like, for example, myself in the mortgage business, I'm a client of yours, and we've put together a solo 401k plan, which I didn't really even know I could do until we chatted about it, right? And so you really have to be up to speed on all these tax laws. And some people might view, it depends who you're talking to, right? So business owners are trying to maximize their contributions to retirement plans. Employees maybe don't get the same benefits, and so there's testing in there that you do. It's really fascinating. What mistakes do you see, if any, that business owners are making kind of in this world?
You sort of touched on it a little bit. A lot of people don't know that you can have a solo 401k. A lot of people don't know whether they're filing as a Schedule C, sole proprietor, or whether they're maybe a single member LLC. A lot of people think that you have to have employees to have a retirement plan.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. The beauty of the solo, whether it's a solo 401k or defined benefit plan, the beauty is that every penny you put away is yours.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you have an employee, well, you get the lion's share, but the employee is going to get something. A little bit harder to sell, right?
Yeah.
But I would say that's number one, is probably the biggest misconception. Number two is, for those that do know you can have a solo 401k, some people don't know that there's actually compliance, that you actually have to file a tax return.
Yep.
Once you hit a certain threshold, the tax return has to be filed. So a lot of the people that come to me, it's reacting to maybe a notice that they got, or reacting to a conversation they had with an accountant or a financial advisor where they said, oops, I've got $1 million in this plan and I haven't filed the tax return.
Yeah. Yeah. I bet it happens all the time, probably frustrating.
Yeah.
But so So tell me kind of, because I know you work primarily with financial planners and so forth. How do you find them? What's your businesses? You've had great growth, organic growth, from what I can tell, right? You're not out there doing a lot of stuff other than meeting new people. But what is your plan? How do you get on meet people? What do you do kind of day to day basis to get your name out there?
So twofold. I sort of took a page out of your book. You're a big proponent in education. And probably one of my favorite things about you is that you genuinely like to educate people on, a variety of financial topics. And gosh, maybe 7 years ago, I started doing kind of lunch and learns,
Yeah,
webinars, where, just nothing more than an hour. You record it just in case people miss it, and a hot topic, whether it's legislation that passed, Secure 2.0, whether it's something that touches on my area of expertise, or whether it's not, whether it's just kind of a hot topic.
yeah.
I did one on Medicare, right? My clients start to age and then they might have a Medicare question, Social Security. I did one on college planning, right? A lot of my clients are sort of wealthier individuals and they don't qualify for financial aid for their kids going off to college. And this was sort of talking about, grants and other ways that you could kind of get your kid into college with a little bit of a discount. So just getting out there and sort of giving good content
Yeah,
was something that I felt sort of let people know that I'm someone that, if I don't know, I know someone that knows.
sure.
So come to me if you have a question, and I'm going to see if I can help you with a good answer. That was part of it. And then the other was networking,
Yeah.
joining various networking groups. That was huge for my business. I'm in a networking group where there's not a lot of me in the group, and so that's been great. And I would say the other thing that just sort of naturally evolved over time was, I'm in a world where my colleagues genuinely want to share tips and trades.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm in a very friendly industry where we like to talk shop. And so I'm in 3 different groups where we meet once a month and we just share ideas. Maybe it's a client situation where we're a bit of a pickle and how do we get out of this? And we just talk shop. And that has been super valuable to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. So thank you for sharing all that. That's that's wonderful. So kind of as you were saying, I was thinking about this sort of the education. So you're really kind of positioning yourself as a gatekeeper as well to other kinds of things, which is again something I've done as well. I think that if we're talking about best practices that advisors could consider, right? These are pretty simple, straightforward things, right? You're educating folks, you're doing good work, and you're connecting your clients and or prospects with other important professionals out there. And it seems really simple, but not a lot of people do it, and not a lot of people do it genuinely, and with empathy and on a regular basis, right? And strategically, right? So keep it going. You got to keep it. It's hard to do. I mean, I've been doing it for 30 years, and I'm a little tired. So,
But I think genuine is the big part of it. You've
yeah,
got to be delivering content that people want to hear. You got to care about it.
yeah.
But I'm with you. I try not to do too many. It's usually something I try to do over the summer.
Sure. No, that's great. Well, thank you. And people, by the way, so you can go on to Emily's LinkedIn page. I think you generally post your classes there. I saw that there are a couple up there. Do you have them posted on your website when you're hosting a
On our
class?
website, we send out quarterly newsletters,
That's what I thought.
and we post all of those on our website as well.
Right. So yeah, so go to Emily's website, sign up for her newsletter, and you'll see when the next classes are and so forth, and learn a little bit more about what she's doing and so forth. So that's great. So let's transition a little bit because we just touched on your running. I don't even know what to call it because it scares me. So you've maintained this passion for cardiovascular work.
Yeah.
Share it with those who don't know you.
So I've always been, as a kid, my parents put me in every sport, and then that just I just was the kid that it was always in something. I was never home. I was never watching TV, and I love it. And I married someone that is embraced that lifestyle as well. Whenever we go out of town, we always have to run a 5K, 10K. There has to be some sort of event that we do wherever we go. And so I just started doing these races called High Rocks. And they're
What?
all over, High Rocks, HYROX.
Okay.
And they are all over the world.
Wow.
They are predominantly in Europe, but we can go to any country, we can go anywhere. There's usually about 8 or 9 in the US per year. And this is, you basically run a half mile, you do, 100 wall balls. You run a half mile, you row 1,000 meters. You run it, and there's eight of these stations.
Wow.
And it's how do you do it? Can you do it in 60 minutes? Does it take 2 hours? Right. But I love competition. You can do it with a partner.
Yeah.
You can do it solo. I love it. I love the team atmosphere, and I love just the competitive nature, and I love fitness, and I enjoy that kind of a thing.
That's good. And she didn't say it, but I mean, she really does get up. I think most days of the week in the very, very early hours, 2, 3 in the morning, and runs a variety, 7, 8, 10 miles a day, right?
Yeah, at 2:30 is wake up call. At some point, my kids will be old enough where they can be home alone, or my husband and I can work out at the same time. But for now, I go first and he goes second.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's great. And if I remember correctly, you had a goal to run a marathon on every continent. How are you doing?
I'm not doing good, John. I have sidetracked to coaching. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should coach a tournament in every city in LA.
There you go.
Maybe that
Well,
should
that's
be
true
the
because
thing.
now, yeah, and the kids take up, and the coaching soccer especially takes up a lot of time. I never, with ASO, I got roped into refereeing, and that was bad enough, right? Because when you're refereeing at the U8, U10, U12, the parents are your worst enemy. Actually, you think they'd be your friend, but they're not. So
Yeah,
it's
it takes up your whole Saturday.
that's your whole, yeah. So our kids all ended up in volleyball. We did have soccer players early and then transitioned out, but volleyball was a wonderful experience for 20 years. And I do miss it. I mean, it's a lot of fun to be able to spend that quality time with your kids. And you've been able to run a successful business, have time for yourself and your husband and your kids. So what's your secret to that? I mean, how do you manage to balance all this?
You just keep going. You keep going, and when you're tired, you sleep. You just do what you can.
You're supposed to have something like really earth shattering, like, well, here, I meditate for 20 minutes at
Yeah, there's
12:20.
no time, John. There's no time for meditation. There's no time. I will say this: I do some of my best thinking
Yeah.
when I'm running at 3 o'clock in
Yeah.
the morning. Going for 10 miles at 3 o'clock. I thoughts,
Sure.
and I just want to chat myself
Yeah.
some of these things so I don't forget them.
And do you do that? I mean, so I agree with you. When I'm working out on the treadmill or whatever, if my mind is going, I have brilliant stuff comes up during that time.
So I would text
Okay.
myself
All right.
because I didn't know. And then I've got an employee that's just so good with technology and so good with Teams and all these
Yeah.
things. There's so many things I don't know how to do, and I buzz her and I say, "How do I do fill in the blank?"
Yeah.
And so she told me, she's like, on Teams, there's a place where you can put you can put your own stuff in there.
Ah,
So, oh my gosh! So now I use Teams. I don't text myself anymore. I go into Teams and I just put it there.
that's neat.
Yeah.
An idea that I will share. We kind of believe that on this quarterly planning, so we tend to have no more than 3 or 4 large rocks, which are initiatives for the quarter, right? And then between those, you break down tasks beyond that. But we have a thing which we call the parking lot. And so the parking lot is, we're in the middle of a quarter. It's, right now it's, June 17th. We're still in the second quarter and we are starting to think about the third quarter. And so if I get a brilliant idea at 3 in the morning running, which I will not, I will put it in the parking lot. And so the parking lot, in my case, is a Google Doc. It's attached to our weekly team stuff. And then I just add ideas. And so the thing is, sometimes you get a brilliant idea at 3 in the morning, you write it down in your teams, and then you come back to it 2 weeks later, like, what was I thinking?
Yeah, those happen too.
And that's okay. But we need as business owners, I believe a best practice really is let your brain do the work, write down the idea. It'll gather support for it or not, right? I believe the universe tells us things and then it gathers support for it or tells you it's not the right idea. And that's okay. And there's nothing wrong or right with any of that. That's why I love
Yeah.
that. Well, thank you. I'm going to give you the last word here in a moment. But just one final question kind of about what I do, right? So we're in the liability management mortgage business. We've had a chance to work together. You don't work directly with liabilities, but of course you're working with financial planners. Could you share any thoughts you might have about my world?
About your world.
Sure, and about how it's integrated into planning, right? So you're helping folks with, setting up these plans with retirement and so forth. And then on our side, we're helping people, borrow smart and repay smart, essentially.
Yeah, I think that's great. And our worlds do collide in a certain area. So I'm looking at, let's say, my typical client is trying to stash away as much as
Yeah.
possible per year, defer tax. And while that makes sense, maybe now or maybe next year or the following year, there comes a time where if they don't own a home yet,
Mhm.
they want to purchase a home. And that's going to impact the money that they have to put into the plan. And so, yes, their mortgage, whatever they're trying to do, whether it's now or down the road, or maybe an investment property, maybe they want to purchase the building their office is in.
Yeah, even better.
All of these things play a role in our planning of how much you're funding per year into the plan.
Yeah.
And so you're absolutely correct. And so, it's kind of interesting, John. Typically, the younger clients, it's coming up in conversation, right?
Mhm.
Because at least what we're starting to see is it's almost like they own their business before they own their home.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
sure.
it's changing.
Are you seeing that as well on your
We
end?
are because I first off, there's so many great ways for people that are generating income and so forth that are different than when I grew up, and even you, and you're younger, much younger than I am. But as we grew up, just ways of creating businesses are very different nowadays. So people are having great success early in life, which is fantastic,
Yeah.
right? So
And so we're seeing them, we're seeing the accountants say, we need a deduction, we need a pension plan, we need to do this. And there, the business owners has a little pushback with, well, I still want to have some cash because I want to buy a
yeah,
home.
yeah,
So it certainly plays a role in the big picture. And that's why you need all these parties. That's why you need the
yeah,
advisor, financial advisor, the account. You need everyone to understand big picture what we're trying to accomplish. Now it's tax savings, but the goal for this individual is to buy a home in a couple of years.
sure.
So let's not prevent that from
No,
happening.
no, that's right, and it is all tied together. And
And,
the idea, especially for younger business owners, and that could be anyone under 40, quite frankly, or whatever. It's how do you know make good money? How do you show the income you need to show to maybe qualify for mortgage at some point? And how do you maximize the retirement contribution through the planning, the work you do with financial planners? But at the exact same time, how do we then use leverage, right? Because we might have because people tend to believe that they need these large down payments for homes. And the reality is that if you're a good earner, you have a successful business, you might be able to accomplish a number of things, right? Maybe you buy a home with a lot of leverage because you would rather put money into your retirement account than put it into a down payment on a home. And that might be perfectly appropriate depending on your level of earnings, which brings me back to it takes a village, right? It takes everyone
yeah,
planning together. So thank you for bringing that up.
yeah.
So this has been a lot of fun. And so thank you very much. All the notes from this and things we talked about will be in the show notes for people to look at later on, and they can go to your website and the stuff that you've shared. But I want to leave you with kind of the last word. And so maybe if you just want to share some advice or some tips, it can be something personal, it could be something to financial planners or whatever, something that you think will make the world a little bit better place.
I mean, the one thing I think of is I hope everyone loves what they do for a living,
Yeah,
right? You're at work a majority of the day. You find a way to love it. If the day in and day out work isn't what you like, figure out how to get someone to do that, and you do the part of it that you
mm,
like. That would be my only thing. I think having a family and my kids watch me work, right? You're kind of passing on everything that you're doing to your kids, whether you know it or you're not. And I never, ever, ever thought I would be doing this for a living, taking over the family business.
sure.
Didn't even know what my dad did for a living until I got in here. But I love it, and I love being able to engage with like-minded professionals.
Thank you.
But thank you, John. Thank you for this opportunity to chat with
You're
you.
welcome. Great advice, and thank you for sharing. And thanks, everyone. And we'll see you soon on another session. Take care. Bye.
Bye.